next day. So he was like, oh yeah, let's go get it. And scored a touchdown. I'm like, nice, dude. Now we're talking. But yeah, it was great. I didn't know you could park in the neighborhood for free. So we did that, same parking money, walked in, you're walking through, and the fans were so nice. They're like, yeah, you guys deserve to win that one. Like, nice job.
Oh, okay.
And stuff, right? Like, they played fantastic.
No problem.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, where is my...
Offense, defense.
Yeah. They did it. 2 block field goals. Two block field goals is insane. In one game.
He has such a that kicker has such a low trajectory. They just special teams should have figured that out. His angle.
Well, you have to at 60 yards,
60
right?
you do. The other one was 40 something. Make both of those against it.
That big palm that we're gonna get.
What's the fight?
Yeah, I know. I saw
That was a fight. Almost was. I was going out for the firemen, and then I thought, oh no, it's too much work to go out for this.
Yeah, I did the same thing when we moved out here, and I was talking to somebody, one of the firefighters that was in my field.
It's not.
Do it. He goes,
But
It's very close.
it's close.
We got married the 15th that year, which was like a total nightmare in itself because there were people that thought they were going to be out of town, couldn't, like with the caterers, like it was a mess. Like we're like, we're
I call that what it is.
the 15th, 4 days later.
Put the toothpicks in.
Yeah,
Do it.
like, we don't remember our anniversary. Like there's something really wrong because it's like a national reminder.
Right. Really significant.
Still talks to the guys now.
Oh man.
Never left.
Yeah.
Retired.
Yeah, it was just crazy.
But he's got some really cool stories.
Oh, I bet.
In Chicago, a little different than West
I imagine.
We met people on our honeymoon that were supposed to be getting married in New York, but they were like, it was still like burning. So they're like, we just went on the honeymoon. We're getting married later
Oh.
because we wanted to get out of New York.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. It opened that Saturday at the airport. Yes, crazy. Crazy. Yay. Everything was surrounded for like 3 days. Well, I don't always like he's a good guy.
Almost at time.
Where are my packets here?
All right. Good evening. Welcome to the September 9th, 2024 combined workshop and special meeting of the Village of Western Springs Village Board of Trustees to honor our nation's heroes and especially to honor those individuals who serve and protect our community. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. In addition, tonight, as we all know, this Wednesday is September 11th, Patriot Day, and a National Day of Service and Remembrance. In memory of those who lost their lives on September 11th, in honor of those who served, and in gratitude for those that continue to serve our nation every day, please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Clerk Timick, may we have the roll call, please?
Yes, President Rudolph. Trustee Avakian.
Here.
Trustee Chen.
Here.
Trustee Fink. Trustee Lewis.
Here.
Trustee Naraki.
Here.
Trustee Terrell.
Here.
One absent.
Thank you very much. All right. We are moving next on our agenda to a very special event, and that is the recognition of Director of Fire and Emergency Medical Services, Chief Mike Kelly.
Thank you, President Rudolph. I'd like to ask Director of Fire and EMS, Chief Mike Kelly, to join me up here. at the front of the room. Thank you. For those of you who have been fortunate to work with Mike Kelly, you know that he is not one to grab the spotlight, but he definitely deserves to be recognized at center stage. Chief Kelly began his career in 1986 after a long and distinguished tenure with the Village of Hinsdale Fire Department, where he retired as chief in 2012. He went on to serve the Bartlett Fire Protection District before coming to the Village of Western Springs in 2016. Mike served as fire marshal and deputy chief before being appointed as chief in January of 2021. It has been my honor to work closely with Chief Kelly as he led the most critical emergency responses and managed the operations of a truly unique fire department. Mike has often remarked to me how important it is to appreciate the paid-on-call model that Western Springs is known for. He has worked diligently to maintain the highest standards of professionalism and takes training and learning to new levels each year. In 2018, Chief Kelly and former Chief Kenny worked together to achieve the department's highest ISO rating ever, a rating of 2, a rating that is awarded to less than 5% of the departments that are evaluated against national recognized standards. Since becoming chief, Mike has provided mentorship and critical leadership. He is kind, compassionate, resourceful, very intelligent. He is the first person you want to be on the scene in a tough situation. Mike is also funny and the guy you want to invite to every meeting because he challenges us to be creative and to think about things from every angle. I will miss working with Mike and seeing him daily, but I know he will remain a part of this vibrant department, as so many before him have done. By the support you see in this room, it is quite obvious that I am not the only one who feels that Chief Kelly is a truly exceptional colleague and friend. I'd like to extend my congratulations to Chief Kelly in his retirement, and I wish him all the best in his next adventure. Thank you, Mike. To, it's kind of an impromptu move, invite former Chief Pat Kenny to say a few words about Chief Kelly.
Everybody in the room is shaking their head already from the board all the way through all the guys. This is true. This is true. Manager grabbed me in the hallway and said, will you say a couple of words before we leave for tonight? And I'm going to miss the walkout. So this is impromptu, but all of those who know, when you hand me a microphone, usually it's not that big of a deal. And it's really easy at this point now. So you all know about Chief Kelly's accolades in emergency services. All important. For me, what was most critical was what he's got in here. And you see significant people sitting here that are more important than anything about the fire service, which is the way it's supposed to be. And that has always driven Mike in every decision he's made. And we were very honored when we reached out to him in 2016 and said, will you come be part of the Western Springs Fire Department? It's unique. We had worked obviously together with Hinsdale before, and Mike was in a great position where he was at, in a chief officer position. And when he came into Western Springs, I asked him to be very humble and be a firefighter. Start at the bottom to earn everybody's respect. The problem I had was when I asked him to move back up the ranks, he didn't want to go. He liked being a firefighter because that's what we do. We all have different ranks, but that's what we do. I had him as my deputy chief in Hinsdale when I lost my son. I don't make it through that year without him and Tim, who's sitting here in the front row. I had him then here in 2016 when my wife was diagnosed with cancer. She told me when Mike agreed to come that December before she was ever diagnosed, she said, that's the best hire, Pat, you've ever done in your life, without knowing what that was going to be. And again, he walked me through the worst time of my life. And he's done that for so many other people without any fanfare, and you're absolutely right, Ellen, one of the most humble people you will ever meet. But the only guy who could come in and close the door and say to me, are you out of your mind? Do you really want to do that? Do you understand what that's going to do? And do you know what that means when you're leading and you have somebody who has that kind of courage to challenge you? And a lot of times he was right on the button. And there were changes that I was going to make that would have been a disaster, and he led me down the right direction. I get a lot of credit for a lot of the things that Mike came up with. And I couldn't be more proud to have him as my friend. He's like my brother to me. This is a tremendous honor for him to be your chief. And what makes me the happiest is he's walking out as a retired chief with a smile on his face. That was not his previous experience, through no fault of his. But you all, including the board, including the other trustees we worked for, and all the members of this fire department, you all gave him that pride back. You gave him that smile, that little boy smile, I call it, back, that makes him look so happy. And Mike, God bless you. You are a unique person, and I am so thankful that God sent you into my life because of what you've done and what you've done for this entire department. And I made it through it without crying because it was impromptu.
Sorry, President Rudolph, we didn't know we'd take over your meeting.
No.
But
Very good cause.
most people said I just followed Pat Kenny around, but if I could introduce my family that are here today. My wife, Jean, my daughter, Brittany, and my granddaughter, Bria, and her husband, Adam, and our other granddaughter, Chloe, couldn't be here tonight. My son, Dave, who is a firefighter in Maywood, and his girlfriend Laura, who's a police officer in Bloomingdale. And my son Andrew and his fiancee Mel are joining in remotely from South Carolina. And my daughter Bridget and her husband Everett and our newest little grandson is in remote from Milwaukee. So thanks for all of your support and being here. Ellen, thank you for the kind words. I have really enjoyed our working relationship over the last 4+ years. It's been great experience working with you and for you as the village manager, so thank you very much. And President Rudolph and the Board of Trustees, thank you all. It's really been my great honor to be able to end my fire service career with the Village of Western Springs. It really is an honor for me to be here as the fire chief and being able to end my fire service career. And I was going to say thanks to Pat Kenny for bringing me on board 8+ years ago to be able to join the Western Springs Fire Department. And I've really had an opportunity to work with some really great people, all the directors, the group of directors, the other members of the different departments of the village, especially the fire department, both past and present. And thank you all for taking time out of your evening tonight to be here for this. It's really humbling, and please know I really appreciate it. It really means a lot to me, especially some of the folks from the surrounding departments that I've worked with for a long, long time. So thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your service. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody for being here through this wonderful honor and recognition. Thank you so much for your service. We're lucky for it. With that, you're all welcome to stay. As we always get to say, otherwise we're going to move on to citizen comments. But
The department has their training on Monday night, so they will all be heading out to that.
okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you. Bye, Gary. All right. Very good.
That was nice.
That was very nice. All right, we'll move on to the rest of our agenda. And our next item is citizen comments. Do we have anything? All right. Then we will move on to our agenda, and we're going to begin with the workshop portion of this combined meeting, and we'll begin with Trustee Chen and the Finance Committee.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. The following items on tonight's agenda were discussed at the Finance Committee meeting held last Thursday. Agenda item A, audit services, RFP and recommendation. Staff is recommending, and the Finance Committee agrees and recommends to the full board entering into a new agreement with Sikich CPAs for audit services for fiscal year 2024 with options to renew through fiscal year 2028. So Sikich has provided audit services to the village since 1997. In May, village staff worked with other municipalities belonging to the DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference to issue an RFP for audit services. The joint effort was to combine resources to produce the RFP. However, each municipality was responsible for entering an agreement or none with the respondents. There were 4 audit firms that responded, all 4 highly regarded, and Sikich and Lauterbach and Amen were the lowest, but Sikich is recommended as Lauterbach currently provides other professional services, and it may impact the appearance of the auditor's independence. So that's our first item. Agenda B, library building and maintenance levy. The Finance Committee reviewed this levy and recommends this item be advanced to the full board. The Thomas Ford Library Board passed a resolution at their June 25th meeting requesting the village board levy a building and maintenance tax in the amount of 0.02% of the value of all taxable property in the village, which is allowable under section 5/3-4 of the Illinois Library Law. I'm going to get into the weeds a little bit about this levy. This levy needs to be approved and published by the village because as the corporate authority, the village includes the library's levy within the village's annual levy. If approved, the publication to levy such a tax will be provided to a local newspaper and shall be effective 30 days after publication, provided a petition of more than 1,068 or more electors is not filed. This levy has been approved and implemented in past village levies. Okay, item number C, Tyler Muni's timekeeping module purchase. It's a mouthful, but we are here to tell you that staff is recommending and the Finance Committee agrees and recommends approval of an agreement to purchase this timekeeping module for the fiscal year 2024 not to exceed the cost of $28,600 and ongoing license cost of $2,500. Village staff is currently using different methods to track employee work schedules, review time off requests, and various methods to export that information. Village staff undertook an exploration of different products, and they found that this Tyler Muni's solution was the best. And we think it's a good idea for efficiencies and also saving some paper. So that's good. Okay. Item D, Downtown South TIF District authorizing expenditures for Burlington Avenue resurfacing, STP. This item is related to the Burlington Avenue resurfacing project utilizing funds from the Surface Transportation Program, STP, to begin spring/summer 2025. The village will be responsible for 20% of construction costs as a local match and is estimated at $141,000. As the project is located in the South TIF District, it is eligible to utilize TIF funds. Staff requested and the Finance Committee agreed to use TIF funds for this portion. Sorry, the sneeze was coming. Sorry. Okay. The Finance Committee recommends this action to the full board. And then lastly, we have a couple budget amendment and transfers related to the Burlington Avenue projects. Current projections exceed the 2024 budget in the amount of $50,100. The Director of Engineering requested us to consider a budget amendment in the amount of $25,100 to inspection engineering in the TIF South Fund, and a budget transfer for $25,000 from the line item sidewalk replacement, as this budgeted amount is now part of the construction portion of this project. Due to an additional scope change in the design portion, a budget amendment to design engineering of $30,000 was also requested. We discussed and reviewed these items in the Finance Committee, and we recommend them to the full board. And that concludes my report, if there's any questions.
Anybody have any questions?
No. Okay.
All right.
Great. Thank
Very
you.
good.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to general government. Trustee Terrell?
Thank you, Madam President. The first order of business I have, the letter A, is Mariano's Class D and Class E liquor licenses. As everyone is aware, Western Springs Mariano's is part of a sale of numerous Illinois stores in anticipation of the Kroger-Albertsons merger. The application is being made in anticipation of the sale of Mariano's at 47th and Gilbert to the applicant 1918 Winter Street, Illinois LLC. The Village Liquor Control Code does not allow for the transfer of licenses between owners. As such, the applicant, 1918 Winter Street, is required to apply for the new liquor license. The anticipated closing date for the sale of Mariano's to the applicant is October 1st of 2024. There are no changes proposed to the hours, floor plan, branding, or other operations. The applicant has stated in the submitted materials that there should be no discernible impact to the existing grocery store operations or services offered to customers stemming from the ownership change. This item is on the agenda tonight for discussion. If we are amenable to granting the licenses, the application can be placed on the September 23rd meeting for action on the omnibus. Director Vallone and a representative for the application are here to assist in answering any questions that the board may have. Would you like to address us, please?
Sure, yeah. And thank you for your presentation, Trustee. I'm Kevin Giroux. No, thank you.
It's on.
Hi, Kevin Giroux, local attorney here for Mariano's, or the applicant, I should say more specifically. Our office is handling about 38 of these applications across the entire Chicago area, and including in the city of Chicago. I think that's sort of the meat and potatoes of the details here of what's going on. It's C&S Wholesalers would be the parent entity, and you might know them for Piggly Wiggly is one of their well-known brands, and also Grand Union is another one of their more well-known brands. They're from New Hampshire, and Kroger and Jewel will also be part of this merger. And it's just about covering every single Mariano's in Illinois, but not all of them. And we're hopeful that, as you mentioned, the closing date happens on October 1st. We're all set with the new license, and that's what we're hoping the village approves tonight, and also, I believe, on the final vote on the 23rd.
How quickly does it change from Mariano's to Piggly Wiggly?
Well, it's going to stay the same name. They recognize that in the Chicagoland area, the Mariano's brand still has a lot of weight and goodwill, so
Gotcha.
they don't want to operate under Piggly Wiggly's name here. It'll still be Mariano's.
So, I mean, to that same point, we understand that really kind of nothing changes, so.
Same general manager, same employees,
Yeah.
same products will be offered to the public. It's just a change of ownership.
Okay.
And no change to the license, it's just the
Same
same
DAE,
type of
right.
license.
It's a new, two new licenses.
Right,
But,
but same class.
Same classes, it'll be
Okay.
a seamless transition, the goal is for
Okay.
them to, not turn the lights off, right? When the new folks come on, it'll be
Okay.
just, they'll step into the shoes of the old operator and move forward.
Okay.
So that 1% tax that's still being questioned is still being questioned that we used to get?
That's gonna stay in place until next year, and there'll be more information coming to you
Yeah.
later this year on that.
Okay. And so, and those two, again, kind of the impact on the shoppers and the residents is they shouldn't notice.
We don't think so, no. That's the plan.
We appreciate you being here and
Thank you.
representing the, this transfer. Anybody else have any other questions?
So this will be presented on the omnibus.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very good. Again,
Great.
thank you for being here.
No, thank you for your time.
My next item of business is the approval of the content of certain closed meeting minutes. Under the Open Meetings Act, we must determine on advice of council approval of content and release of certain closed meeting minutes of the regular and special meetings and workshop meetings of the board. As you are aware, certain meetings, those involving litigation, real estate, employment contracts, and particular employment matters such as discipline can by law be kept closed to the public. The closed meetings are recorded and they're transcribed into written minutes, and every 6 months are reviewed and determined as to which shall be released to the public and which shall remain closed. We reviewed our list both for the General Government Committee and also for the board, and we've recommended that our council consider and determine which closed meeting minutes shall be published at a later date. Is that summarized correctly, Mike?
Yes.
Okay. So then, are there any questions about that? Okay, then moving on to the intergovernmental agreement with the City of Countryside. Countryside has proposed our providing Countryside residents with our recreation programming services at our resident prices rather than as a non-resident rate. In exchange for that, we would have access to baseball fields and soccer fields and possibly even Flag Creek Golf Course. Am I correct with that? If it
That's correct.
passes through
We
Flag
have
Creek's Board of Directors. Many of our recreation programs have the capacity for non-residents to register and participate. Countryside has additional soccer fields for AYSO soccer organizations that serve our residents, and also additional baseball fields should the Western Springs Little League need accommodation for the Springdale Park stormwater proposal. What's proposed is that the citizens of Countryside could participate in our recreation programs at our resident rates, while our village shall have the use of Countryside's parks and outdoor fields, again, hopefully including the golf course. It's important to note here that our village residents will receive preferential or priority treatment during the registration process. So this is not going to put anyone, there will be no Countryside residents who will take a spot that any village resident would hope to have. It's just an exchange of a lower rate for them in exchange for us getting the use of the baseball field, soccer fields, and golf course. Countryside had an IGA with the LaGrange Park District, but that agreement was not renewed. Countryside was in need of a new partner, and we felt that we would be most suitable to join with them for this exchange. Anyone have any questions about this? I thought it'd be a great benefit for us, again, especially with the issues we're gonna have with the baseball fields and the soccer fields, and then hopefully the golf course, if that makes it past their board of directors. They have a separate body that has to make that decision too. Okay, if there would be no further questions about that, that's all I would have to report on tonight.
Great, thank you very much. And I think the ability to work with and cooperate with our neighboring communities like this is really important. So, yeah, thank you. Okay, moving on to planning and zoning, Trustee Naraki.
Thank you, President Rudolph. I have 3 items on my agenda tonight. The first being the Baxter and Woodman at 5600 Wolf Review Assistance. At the June 17th, 2024 Village Board meeting, an agreement was approved with Baxter and Woodman Consulting Engineers Limited, BNW, for stormwater management plan reviews for the 5600 Wolf property development. BNW has completed 2 reviews as expected, but additional reviews are now anticipated. An amendment to the agreement is needed, with an estimated fee of $9,900 for 2 more reviews, bringing the total fee to $19,800. These review costs will be passed on to the developer. This is on the omnibus tonight for action if the board is amenable to approving this measure. Does anybody have any questions about that?
So there's already been 2 reviews and there's another one.
Yes. Director Vallone, do you want to chime in a bit there? Or, sorry, Director Jeff.
Okay, what was the question, trustees?
I mean, I just, So like the scope of the first two isn't enough, and they need to do another review? Oh, okay.
Essentially, yeah. We had anticipated two, but based on the plan commission meeting and some developments as we've gotten further in, it's necessitated additional reviews. That's all we're asking for, is the approval to do that.
I see. Okay.
This is an area that has a lot of water that comes through.
Yes, no, I've
And
heard about
flooding,
it through
right.
various sources, so,
Right.
okay, good. I guess that we're
But you're
continuing
just questioning
review.
the scope, that it's a.
Yeah, that we're getting more, maybe people are asking more questions, and we're doing more review to make sure that, yeah, okay.
Right, that water isn't flowing through.
Oh,
and
okay.
It's a complicated design too, not only that, but the Cook County Highway Department's involved, and they have a say in what goes on. So there's a lot of moving pieces, and there's been a lot of changes since we started. And when they change something, we have to review it,
Yeah.
so.
Right, and it's being passed along to the developer at
Right.
any rate, so, okay, thank you.
Good question.
Okay, well.
The second item on my agenda is the Field Park Fit Family 5K race and 1 mile fun run. The Field Park PTO has submitted their 2024 request for a temporary use permit for their annual Field Park Fit Family 5K race. This is the 10th year of this event. The event will be conducted on Sunday, September 22nd, 2024, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. in and around the Field Park neighborhood. This will be north of the elementary school and park. This is, sorry. The application was reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Committee. This is on the omnibus tonight for action if the board is amenable to approving the event. Any questions? Okay. The last item on my agenda is the Laidlaw Family 5K race. The Laidlaw Elementary PTO has submitted their 2024 request for a temporary use permit for their annual Laidlaw Family 5K race. The event will be conducted on Saturday, September 14th, 2024, from 3 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. This is the third annual Laidlaw Family 5K race, and previous events were managed well by the PTO team. The application was reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Committee. This is on the omnibus tonight for action if the board is amenable to approving the event. Any questions? Okay, that concludes my report tonight.
Thank you
President
very
Rudolph.
much. All right, some great events. All right, let's move on to Properties and Recreation. Trustee Avakian.
Thank you, President Rudolph. First on my list is an HVAC unit for the Recreation Center gym. The project that was proposed that we talked about and we are recommending to the board to approve includes removal of an existing rooftop unit, furnishing and installing 2 new Carrier 15-ton rooftop units, installing factory guards, furnishing and installing Wi-Fi ready programmable thermostats, and replacing 2 80-amp 3-phase breakers. The amount, the 2 bids they received, the lowest of the bids was $67,058.20. We are recommending that we proceed. Okay. Next up, we had a bid for some painting that needs to be done within the inside the water treatment rooms and the entryway and the staircase and the train platforms and the bike structures. We had a couple of bids come in. The lowest bid came in with, I'm not gonna say this for truity, 19 for $27,652.30. We've had experience with them. We like the company. They work well. So we are recommending that we proceed with that today's board meeting. Any questions there? Okay. Next, we have some furniture that we are suggesting or hoping the board will agree that we need to dispose of. So we're declaring them a surplus. There's a long list of things that we don't use. You know, some are broken, some folding chairs, coat racks, some old uniforms. You know, there's a long list of things, and we are recommending that they all go to our surplus declaration. And then we talked a little bit about we had an introduction to the budget, and everything seems to be pretty much in line, and no big changes to really discuss. So I don't really have a whole lot to bring to the table. And if there's no questions,
Good, all right, thank you very much. Moving to Public Health and Safety, Trustee Lewis.
Thank you, President Rudolph. Our committee recently reviewed and is recommending approval of 2 amendments to the Western Springs Municipal Code that will ensure our local regulations align with the regulations of the Illinois State Vehicle Motor Code. We recently learned the fine in our municipal code for not wearing a seatbelt exceeded the amount provided for in the state code. Consequently, we need to lower our fine for not wearing a seatbelt from $35 to $25. The second needed change to the municipal code relates to the use of electronic communication devices while driving. The state now classifies cell phone use while driving as an offense against traffic regulations governing the movement of vehicles. Previously, the use of communication devices while driving was considered an offense against equipment regulations governing the movement of vehicles. Because it was considered an equipment violation, our officers could issue local citations, and those would not go against a person's driving record. The change made by the state, in essence, makes it a more serious violation, and our officers can only issue the state citations, and the local citations are no longer an option. So, to align the village code with the Illinois State Motor Vehicle Code, we need to delete that provision relating to the regulation of the use of electronic communication devices. All right, then. Any questions?
Very well explained, Scott.
So it's more than a speeding ticket now.
Well, it's
Or certain speeding tickets are.
Goes on your
still-
record.
now will go on your record, where before you get a citation and pay the fine.
But you could always come into court and contest it or get supervision, just like you could for a serious
Yeah.
speeder. Okay.
Chief, anything you want to add?
All right, moving on.
Okay.
All right. Our committee is also recommending we amend the fire code to include the use of a third-party vendor to collect data related to the required testing, maintenance, and inspections of fire protection systems in the village. Currently, inspections, maintenance, and testing of fire alarms, fire sprinklers, kitchen hood systems can be conducted throughout the year and can often be difficult to track compliance. This code amendment will require the fire protection service contractors that do the work and testing to file their reports with our fire department's third-party vendor. So it should result in a much more efficient process and more accurate database instead of some businesses providing their paper copies and others maybe not getting around to this. This will be, when they do the inspections, they have to file the report with our third-party vendor who we have the database with all of that in there. So our committee also recommends, in a little separate action, that we authorize a service agreement for the third-party fire system reporting service, and we go with inspection reports online. And that would be based on a recommendation from our fire marshal, Stephanie Grimm. The company was recommended in part because their review department employs former fire service members, and they're familiar with fire alarm and suppression systems. And the review department will also verify the report's accuracy and then follow up if there are any deficiencies. The nice part is there should be no cost to the village. The fee of $19.99 per report filed will be paid by the fire protection companies that do the inspection. So, our committee is asking that the fire code amendment and the service agreement for the recommended third-party vendor be placed on the omnibus agenda for our next meeting. Any questions about that? We also had some preliminary budget discussions and need to be talking about maybe getting some new cardiac monitors. The ones that we have are 10 years old, and so we might try and find a spot for that in the budget. And I'll also note there were a couple items that snuck on the agenda that aren't quite the license plate reader change order and the auxiliary officer update. So we might cover that at a later date. But are any questions? That's all I have this evening.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Okay, for our final committee report for Public Works and Water, with Trustee Fink being absent, Trustee Avakian will be reporting out. Thank you very much.
Yes, first item is the Springdale Park IGA, and the village aims to improve stormwater infrastructure in the Springdale subdivision by installing new storm sewers and a detention basin in Springdale Park to proceed intergovernmental agreements, IGAs, with the Western Springs Park District and the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicagoland, MWRD, are required. The village staff is negotiating the IGA with WSPD, focusing on construction and maintenance responsibilities, with a follow-up meeting scheduled for September 12th, and the staff is working towards an October approval for the IGA. My item B is the Burlington Resurfacing IDOT agreement. The village secured $565,000 of SDP federal funding and aims to start construction in the spring/summer 2025. IDOT requires formal agreements for the project, including a construction agreement and a construction engineering agreement with V3 companies. We recommend approving these agreements at the September 23rd, 2024 board meeting. The Public Works and Water Committee has reviewed and supports this recommendation. I feel like I'm making an echo. The item C, the 2025 MFT resurfacing. The village plans to fund an asphalt street resurfacing program in 2025 budget and recommends bidding early in the year for better pricing and scheduling flexibility. To prepare plans and specifications need to be developed this fall, with field surveys completed before winter. Christopher B. Burke LTD has proposed a not-to-exceed amount of $84,850 for design and construction engineering services. The resurfacing project will cover 45th Street and various roadways, including milling, curb repairs, and ADA upgrades. Staff recommends approval, and the Public Works and Water Committee supports moving forward with the term for board consideration. Item D, Baxter and Woodman change orders. The village hired Baxter and Woodman for Phase 1 engineering services for 2 Burlington Avenue projects and now seeks approval for related change orders due to unforeseen changes. The Burlington Avenue water main and streetscape project, beginning in early September, requires a $25,000 change order due to the increased design complexity and additional improvements. The Burlington Avenue STP resurfacing project, scheduled for spring 2025, requires a $10,000 change order due to an extra design requirement imposed by IDOT. Both projects are essential for infrastructure upgrades, and the Public Works and Water Committee and Finance Committee have recommended approval of these change orders. Staff supports the recommendation to cover the overages and complete the projects. Any questions there? A vehicle purchase. The village is considering purchasing a new Caterpillar 430-07A STD backhoe loader to replace a 2023 model. This equipment is essential for the Public Works Division's underground tasks, including water main and sewer repairs. The new backhoe's cost is $166,220, with a government discount and trade-in value reducing the final price to $148,720, which is under the budgeted amount of $150,000. The Public Works and Water Committee reviewed and recommended the purchase, which will be presented to the Village Board of Trustees on September 9th, 2024, today. And then finally, the budget introduction here. In August 2023, village staff began preparing the 2024 budget, with meetings involving the internal budget team and village manager's office continuing through September. A preliminary draft budget will be presented to the Public Works and Water Committee in October for review. The Municipal Services Department, which has the largest capital and operating budgets, covers several key funds reviewed by the Public Works and Water Committee. Preliminary project information was discussed during the September meeting, though not all the projects are finalized, focusing on those from previous budget outlooks. That is all I have to conclude the report.
I would just add one more item that's been discussed at a couple of other committees. we had a mailing go out to the village residents recently about water quality. And we do have both Director Super and Ron Darengowski, who's our water superintendent, here tonight, and they would be very willing to give just a brief overview of what that mailing meant and where other resources could be found to help residents understand the mailing.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I want to say that we've mailed out that postcard on August 29th, 2024, notifying the community that the UCMR 5 results, the analytical testing results, were available on our website. This was done not to create any kind of scare or concerns within the community. This was basically a requirement mandated by the EPA in order to just let the community know that these results are out and notification to be present and available. Several concerns and questions were raised by social media, especially over the Labor Day weekend, such as like the implications and safety of consuming the water with levels of lithium, and possibly the response and action plan the Village of Western Springs might have for this. And first and foremost, why is lithium being tested right now as a possible contaminant? The UCMR 5 monitoring data that the EPA is collecting from 2023 to 2025 is going to enhance and further research in determining whether this contaminant and 29 other contaminants listed in this testing will pose any possible health risks and what levels those levels are in the concentration of the water will impose any health limits to the public. Lithium is on the 5th contaminant candidate list, which is known as the CC5, and it's a list of contaminants that are currently not subject to any proposed or promulgated national primary drinking water regulations. The EPA uses the contaminant candidate list to identify priority contaminants for regulatory decision making and information collection needs. This is being done nationwide. This will be fulfilled in 2025, and then all the governmental agencies will be able to collect the research, look at these amounts, and further enhance and make decisions if this is going to be a regulated contaminant in the future. What other sources of lithium are there? Lithium is present in a variety of foods such as cereals, grains, leafy vegetables, and root crops. There is currently no U.S. recommended dietary allowance for lithium, but it also is present in beverages and bottled water that we consume and purchase. Anything from red and white wine all the way down to your bottled water. So lithium is present in most of the foods that we eat and drink. Are the levels on the lithium on the postcard, conference, consumer report, or the village website concerning or poses a health risk? The EPA has not established a non-regulatory drinking water health advisory or any regulatory standard for lithium in public water drinking supplies. The UCMR 5 program established a minimum reporting level of 9 micrograms per liter based on just laboratory analytical measurement capabilities. This had no association with any contaminant health effects or any information with that. The information that is going to be collected from the results nationwide will allow these agencies to implement and set possible regulations and limits. Despite the abundance of information on patients receiving lithium at therapeutic levels, there has historically been limited information available to evaluate any health risks in people at the levels associated with typical drinking water consumption. Research by the United States Geological Service and the EPA identified 10 micrograms of lithium per liter as a health-based screening level and for water systems to understand monitoring results. These health-based screening levels are developed for some contaminants when EPA regulations are not established. While these are non-regulatory, they may indicate a potential human health concern and can help inform future health research efforts. Currently, there's no established primary or secondary maximum contaminant level for lithium. Primary standards and treatment techniques are legally enforceable and apply to public water systems. Primary standards and treatment techniques protect the public health by limiting the levels of contaminants in drinking water. That's why these studies are being done, to see if this is going to become a primary or a secondary contaminant standard and regulation. The Village of Western Springs complies with all standards to ensure that the water is safe for consumption, cooking, bathing, and recreational use. How is lithium in our wells? That was a common question. So lithium is naturally occurring in our source water, our wells. Concentrations are likely to be higher when a well is deep, when there's low precipitation, and if lithium is present in the surrounding soil. Lithium is occurring from the natural erosion of this rocks and soil. We draw our water from deep wells for our source. We have 4 wells, 3 deep wells, and 1 shallow well. Of the 2 deep wells used in daily treatment and production, one draws from the Galesville aquifer, and the other draws water from both the Galesville and the Mount Simon aquifers. These aquifers are part of the Cambrian Ordovician aquifer system, which consists of underground rivers passing through sandstone formations which extend north into Wisconsin. Many communities throughout the upper Midwest obtain their drinking water from this aquifer system. Well 3 and well 4 are very deep wells. One was drilled back in '55, well 3 for the Ironton Galesville formation at 1,600 feet. Well 4 is our other primary source deep well that we use regularly. That was drilled in 1966, and that contains the Mount Simon formation, as well as the Galesville, and is approximately 1,913 feet below the surface. We do use well 1, and that's only used in an emergency situation. It's a shallow well. We only basically test that for microbiological contaminants. It's not introduced into the distribution in the system as well. And that's only to a depth of 380 feet below the surface within the St. Peter Formation. Well 5, our newest well, drilled back in 2019, that well is drilled to a depth of 1,535 feet. That also draws its water from the Galesville aquifer. So these aquifers that we're drawing, since the flow basically comes from north to the south, for like the other, for the flow of water, basically the southern portions of, especially southern Illinois, they experience high mineralization due to higher calcium and dissolved solids that are in our source water or in the source waters throughout the region. So what actions are the village performing in response for the lithium or any of these contaminants? So the UCMR5 testing included testing for lithium and 29 other contaminants, especially PFAS, which is per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. We only tested and had concentrations of lithium out of all those contaminants that were required in those tests. And this fall, we are planning, we were supposed to start this project in the summer, but we are going to most likely be using Carollo engineers for a capital improvement project study for our water treatment plant. This study is going to include our plant's end of life expectancy for all our water treatment equipment, as well as recommendations that were given to them for enhancing our treatment process for current and future contaminants. We're also going to be performing additional non-compliance testing at our wells and throughout the distribution system. So testing will include lithium, radium in the distribution system, and for our wells, we're going to be testing for our others, the hardness, iron, sodium content, alkalinity, fluoride, turbidity, pH, total dissolved solids, radium, and lithium. And currently at our water plant, we do 3 daily tests for most of those parameters except radium and lithium. Those have to go to an analytical lab. So again, I just want to say our water is safe to drink, it's safe to use. We are complying with all the standards that are regulated and limits that are given to us from the primary and secondary standards from the EPA, both at the state and national level. And we will be continuing to monitoring the progress and studies of the lithium in the future, and to see what regulations and what limits they may enforce or may have in the future. So we are doing the best we can to keep the water safe and to be proactive for future operations as well, for these current and possible future contaminants. Any questions?
How do we compare to any surrounding communities? Because everybody is doing the same kind of tests, right? They're looking for the same contaminants that you mentioned, the list?
Correct. So the UCMR, basically lithium and the PFAS, they are primarily more found in groundwater sources. And currently, out of like 918 tests just in the state of Illinois, which has been confirmed and analyzed in the state of Illinois, there's been about 180 sources that have absolute confirmations of lithium alone just in their system, and then other communities have the PFAS in their systems when they test it and regulate it. The data is available on the EPA's website. If everyone's interested, you go to UCMR5 data. Just in the search, it'll get you to the kind of the web page, and then you'll have access to each state, in the United States. So just for our purposes, because we are groundwater, 180 of those were groundwater sources. There are villages like Lamont, Itasca, South Elgin, Lake Zurich, Barrington, kind of like Crest Hill, and several others that are like within, I would say, like 25 to 40 mile radius. There are multiple other communities that use groundwater as their source, and those have also had testing done, and those had elevated even more than the concentrations that we had. Lithium is basically found more in the western states out west, and they usually just use the aquifer for their system as well to draw water, and so that's why I believe that because most of the western states are using the groundwater instead of surface water, that's why the lithium and these other substances are being studied and researched more.
Have we tested for lithium for years and this is the first time we found it, or is this a new test that we're just starting to do?
That's a great question. No, this is the first round of testing that lithium was involved with the UCMR5. That made the contaminant candidate list, I believe, in like 2020 or 2022 when they decided that, and then they were going to further test lithium and the PFAS, mostly the 29 other contaminants, as part of that UCMR testing from 2023 to 2025. So this is the first round. We weren't required to test for this. The EPA required this test for all communities to do. And luckily enough, we don't have the PFAS in our water. That is a more difficult chemical to treat. There are treatment methods, but that actually really bioaccumulates and stays in your body a lot longer than other contaminants like lead, metals, sodium, anything that we consume either by food, drink, or consumption.
And the PFAS is what you said they're finding more in the people with Lake Michigan water, correct?
Somewhat. It all depends. I mean, it's all over. Again, that's the PFAS, especially up north. There's more groundwater contamination, like in Minnesota. But there has been elements. I believe the DuPage Water Commission, when they had theirs, there was one of the 29 components, basically, of PFAS that was found in their water. Yep. So Lake Michigan does have elements of lithium in the water as well as PFAS. It depends on treatment techniques and where it's being distributed, but that, more information for each specific community can be found in that UCMR5 database, if you want to search for different communities.
I'm almost embarrassed to ask this question,
Sure.
but we had a block party, 10, 12 days ago, and a number of my neighbors asked why the water's discolored and is it going to change? And compared to everything you've been telling, this is pretty cosmetic, but it's still been asked to me, is the water going to go back to being its normal color?
Yeah, the water should have no discoloration to it. We've had a bit of a lot of maintenance on main breaks, and that causes a lot of discoloration. There shouldn't be constant discoloration in the water. That should only be on a temporary basis. Most of the discoloration, like your yellow to brownish tint to that, that's related to the iron content. And as just say for a water main repair, depending on the area, if there was one close in that area, that is gonna scale that main and take some of that scale and cause some discoloration. So that's pretty common. We see that pretty common on any kind of water main repair. Residents will call and notice that there is some temporary discoloration of the water, and that should go away.
Okay, thank you.
How long is temporary? Like in a given neighborhood when that occurs? is it-
Usually, typically within 24 hours.
Right.
It kind of just
Okay.
depends on the use and the particular
Okay.
area. So if it's a cul-de-sac where it's a dead end and people aren't there during the day, yeah.
Okay.
Right, and it depends if they drew water, if the main was shut off and they got like a slug of water, if they got a bunch of that
Sure.
into their hot water tank, and some of that water is still gonna be filtered through, even if you use cold water.
Okay.
You know, so you still have some remnants of that discoloration as well.
Okay, so good, 24 hours generally, but it does some of these other specifics depending on your own
Yeah.
use or lack of use,
Yeah.
might make it take a little.
And we do have that
longer.
information on the village website. We have a whole section on water main breaks and kind of like what to expect when those do occur and that sort of thing.
Right, okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Lots of good information. Everybody taking that in? No, thank you for that. And I think there was some concern about the cards, and it was a good question about have we looked at this before? We haven't tested it before. So, no, that's really helpful. Thank you. All right. I think that, okay, moving on now to the omnibus. Okay, we have an omnibus tonight. So, the Illinois state statutes allow municipality to collectively vote on a group of ordinances, resolutions, and other motions such as awards of contract, appointments, etc. This is known as an omnibus vote. All the items contained on the omnibus vote list have been previously discussed by the president and the board of trustees on at least one occasion and often on several occasions. By placing them on the omnibus vote list, a single vote may be taken to approve them. A trustee may remove any item from the list and have it discussed and voted on separately prior to the omnibus vote. Is there any such request tonight? Okay. All right.
Thank you. President Rudolph, I'd move that the following ordinances, resolutions, and motions as contained on the meeting agenda for September 9th, 2024 be adopted and/or approved under an omnibus vote. Agenda item number 1, approval of the meeting minutes of August 19th, 2024 as read. Agenda item number 2, ordinance number 24-3212, an ordinance authorizing the disposal of surplus personal property owned by the Village of Western Springs, office furniture and equipment, and public works vehicles. Agenda item number 3, resolution number 24-2827, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of a first addendum to the professional services agreement with Baxter and Woodman Incorporated for plan review and stormwater management plan review services for the proposed Heritage Crossing development at the 5600 South Wolf Road property by the developer McNaughton Development LLC. Agenda item number 4, resolution number 24-2828, a resolution approving the content and/or release of certain closed meeting minutes of regular and special meetings and workshop meetings of the President and Board of Trustees of the Village of Western Springs, paren 2023 full year review and 2024 mid-year review. Agenda item number 5, motion to approve the temporary use permit and license and release, hold harmless, and indemnification agreement for the Field Park Fit Family 5K race at September 22nd, 2024. Agenda item number 6, motion to approve the temporary use permit and license and release, hold harmless, and indemnification agreement for the Laidlaw Family 5K race of September 14th, 2024. And agenda item number 7, resolution number 24-2829, a resolution approving the appointment of Brian Scott as Director of Fire and Emergency Medical Services for the Village of Western Springs effective September 23rd, 2024.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? All right. Clerk Timmick, may we have the roll call vote, please?
Yes, President Rudolph. Trustee Avakian.
Aye.
Trustee Chen.
Aye.
Trustee Fink is absent. Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Trustee Naraki.
Aye.
Trustee Terrell.
Aye.
President Rudolph.
Aye.
The ordinances, resolutions, and motions contained in the agenda of September 9th, 2024 are hereby adopted or approved.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to reports. I have just a couple of items. The first is regarding the appointment of Ted Pappas to the Recreation Commission for a 3-year term expiring on September 23rd, 2027. And that would be something we would also put on the omnibus or discuss again at the September 23rd, 2024 meeting. And the other item, I just want to reiterate that we are beginning our project here in the Central Business District, and we will have a lot of our businesses impacted by just the traffic flow, and just encourage everybody to keep that in mind for our businesses. They're very concerned about this. We want to try to do everything we can to support them, making sure that everyone is aware that they're all open for business, and to just bear with a little bit of inconvenience with parking in this time period. So just encourage your family and friends to shop local. Thank you. We need to circle back to the new business item. So it was read as item number 7, the resolution 24-2829.
24-2829.
Did we include that in the omnibus?
We put it on omnibus, should I have noted?
Oh, no,
that
that's
it's new?
okay.
Oh, okay.
As long as, yeah.
We
I
had it.
just went, okay, we're good then.
Okay, yep, it was included in the meeting. Okay, thank you. Okay, Village Manager Bear.
Thank you. I also had the Burlington project on my list, so thank you very much for bringing that up tonight. I just had one other item. I wanted to thank the village board for approving Chief Brian Scott's appointment this evening. I just wanted to say a few words about Chief Scott. He has over 30 years of experience in fire service and began his career in Hinsdale in 1994, and then served the city of Evanston before retiring as chief. Chief Scott joined the Village of Western Springs in January of 2021 as deputy chief, and he has had an enormous impact on operations and training here at the Western Springs Fire Department. Chief Scott is also an instructor at the Illinois Fire Service Institute and has been since 2007, teaching many courses over that time, and in particular courses in Command Officer School and leadership courses, among others. Deputy Chief Scott is extremely well qualified and has a proven record of leadership both here in Western Springs as well as the other outstanding departments that he has served. And I look forward to the opportunity to continue to work with him, and now in the new role of Director of Fire and EMS for the Village of Western Springs, which we will swear him in at the September 23rd board meeting. So thank you to Chief Scott for agreeing to accept the position.
Thank you very much. All right.
That's all I have.
Village Attorney Jerusik.
No report tonight.
All right, I believe then we are going to recess to close meeting.
Yes, I do have a motion to adjourn the combined workshop and special meeting and recess to close meeting for the purchase or lease of real property for use by the village pursuant to 5 Illinois Compiled Statute 120/2(c)(5), and for the purpose of discussing the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee of the public body or legal counsel pursuant to 5 Illinois Compiled Statute 120/c(1).
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, roll call vote, please.
Yes, President Ruff. Trustee Bacon.
Aye.
Trustee Chen.
Aye.
Trustee Fink is absent. Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Trustee Naraki.
Aye.
Trustee Terrell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Very good. Okay, we are adjourned to closed session.